Happy days. Woo! It's alive. Hi. Hi, how are you? Okay, so my name's Christopher, and I'm doing a nighttime stream, which is something I don't often do. But just thought I'd stop in and say hi. It's been a long day, and for me, where I am right now, it's 9:45, 9:46. I'm a couple seconds late here, but I'm working on the latest one-page comic that I'm doing from suggestions from people that follow me on social media. And this is something I do each day where somebody suggests an idea. And it's things like what you see on the screen is based on the suggestion of a magic car that crashes into anything that has a target on it. So I come up with this page, or the previous one, which is the one that is the brand card on this stream, is Citadel at the End of Time. And that is the suggestion at hand, is the Citadel at the End of Time. And so I talk about this multi-dimensional allocation of space that has a multi-dimensional allocation of person that lives inside it. It's rather bored because they don't find themselves very interesting. And it's too bad. So when you read pages like this, it's sort of each one of these that I do, whatever the random suggestion is, I try to make it interesting, and I try to encapsulate that in one page for a story to be told in. This is Rock and Roll Librarians. Pretty straightforward. I was sitting down having dinner with my wife, and she said, "What do you mean, like roller derby?" So when I told her that what the suggestion was, it just came in. Yes, indeedy. So the next day and the next stream, I sat down and did roller derby. Librarians, that when they collect the books for you from the shelves, they do so on roller skates. And then before that was a suggestion and a plot outline, which is something I rarely do, from a fellow named Andrew. And this is about a man walks into a bar and has a conversation with a god. And all things being relative, right? So this actually turned out to be a 4-page piece. And I do everything in the landscape format. And the reason I do everything in a landscape format is that as an independent, it's, it's when we try to be on the bookshelves in comic stores with all these major companies, we tend to get overlooked because of the fact that, we're not recognizable big characters, and we're not necessarily with the spit and polish of some of the titles that they do. So that could be really challenging. And so because of that, I thought, well, if I try landscape format, that should allow me to not only be able to have some individuality on the said shelves, same size scale as a regular comic book, turned on its side. So it should give me some uniqueness and individuality on there, and yet be still within a collectible size or format. But at the same time, it can be on bookshelves and bookstores. So that was my notion behind that. This was originally a 6-page piece that, with editing and revision, and as you're putting this together in Photoshop and tightening up the panel edges and things like that, putting the text on, I converted it to a 4-page piece. And you can find all of these things on my Patreon that's listed on the screen, as well as I try to post at least the first page of any of these things on Instagram or YouTube. So, and all those things are listed in the errata down below. So that's sort of the stuff I'm doing. It's just rare that I come on at nighttime. I'm caught. Gary Hodges, how you doing? PM Christopher. Gary, you're welcome to join if you want. I'm just working tonight, so I thought I'd step in and say hi to anybody that might be kicking around. because it is something that I do so rarely. So I was sort of walking through what I do with the one-page comics, which reminds me, Gary, thank you. If you have a one-page comics idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it here in the chat or in the comment section below. And you are more than welcome to suggest any idea. And I'll put it on the list, and I will do that during our daytime streams. I stream Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock every afternoon. So, well, Monday through Friday, right? But Gary, if you want me to send you that link, you're more than welcome to, or anybody else that is any interest in what's going down and wants to jump in and chat about creative process. I'm completely with that, because I'm just going to be drawn away here, which is something I do at this time at night anyhow. I just thought I would be a little bit more proactive tonight and say hi to the people I don't normally get to say hi to. Mr. Daytime. Mr. Works in the afternoon. Yeah, so, you know, it's, I'll walk you through the process of what I'm doing now. And if anyone has any questions that might jump in tonight, please let me know. Where am I? This is the latest page once again. And if you want to put your one-page comic suggestion in the chat, you're welcome to do so. It could be something as innocuous as 3 words, or it can be something like Rock and Roll Librarians, right? One of the pages that I just showed you, or Citadel at the End of Time, or man is turned into one thing that he hates the most, a clown, right? Last year, I'm going to switch cameras for a second, so it might be disorienting. I'm constantly doing this to people in the afternoon streams, but bear with me. Okay, so last year I put out this. I've been doing the streams. I'm sorry. I've been doing the one-page comics since the start of COVID here in Canada. And I don't know how many I'm at anymore. I've lost count. I've completely lost count at this point, but I'm pretty sure I'm over 200. But the difference being, I would argue, say about 160. But that's not, you know, I've done since the start of the year. Focal Point, the page that I just showed, is the 66th. So the first so many of them I collected last year into a comic called One Page Comic Extravaganza. And this has 40, I think, in it. 39, a couple or 2 pages. One is a 4 or 5 page piece at the end. But these are all the different mixed media pages and mixed style that I do. And there's a table of contents at the start. And the shtick of this book is I put all kinds of notes on it. This is my 30th book, but I thought it would be fun to do everything wrong, which is why the price is pointing up here, and yet I put it beside that on a sticker. Remove the tape. The tape is still holding the logo down. Draw a better picture of yourself. Well, I clearly didn't. You know, check the spelling. So far, so good there. But I do spell my name incorrectly at one point in the book on purpose. So professional. And then my wife wrote, "Don't forget to erase your notes." And I wrote, "I won't, hon, thanks." And my friend, who's a graphic designer, who helped me put this book, who helps me format all the books that we've done through RP Comics, and we've put out 70 now, 70 plus actually. But she wrote a note on the back. She even got a sneak joke in there too, which is Chris probably won't see this. So, but this joke runs through the entire book. Title page for volume 1. Make sure you proofread for typos. My wife writes, "I will." And then of course I got typos. Hey. So anyhow, I have a mock. My wife wrote a mock forward for the book. And then I put a fake picture up that says subject's image has been altered to protect their identity. Subject's voice has been altered to protect their identity. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Page joining us. Hi, buddy. I know it's a rarity. If anybody wants to jump in, let me know and I'll send you the link. Don't worry, I came up with an awesome way to hide your identity. I wrote my note for my wife. So silly stuff like this is through the entire book. This is me. Well, those are different me's, but my alter ego if I was to ever be a superhero character, it would be 6'6" me in a bunny costume with a baseball bat. So it appears in a few different, bits. So these are all suggestions. This is wouldn't life be better if you were a bunny rabbit? Nicolas Cage gives an address, or the Queen gives an address for the pandemic as portrayed by Nicolas Cage. This is Antonio Banderas is too sexy. Frankenstein monster goes to kindergarten. The day the chocolate chips came up against the ginger snaps, only to reconcile in an ill-fated trip to the tea bowl. So this is a roving horde of vegan zombies. So a lot of the suggestions are incorporated into the titles. Pebble of Doom. Treasure was not what I expected. Going to a punk show. These are straightforward, the suggestions themselves. But there's a little bit of everything, little bits and bobs and all this. And it's been a lot of fun to do these. Now, this is in the old school and traditional way of working comics, and which I've done plenty of. I've done over 100 in this format for the one-page suggestions. But, it's, like I said earlier on, challenging to get those things recognized on a shelf, in relationship to how there's the mainstream companies, the big competitor companies. You can't switch to a manga format because it's not a traditional manga style book. So why invest like that? Because it's not going to pick up that audience. I worked in comic book store for over 20 years, and you sort of pick up on a lot of these things over time, so that just not to do, just to save yourself the time and investment in that. But they're fun to do, and I enjoy doing a lot of that very much. So now as I've gone through to do the new book, I'm going to switch cameras again. Buckle up. I'll go. Give me 1 second. So this is all the one-page comics that I've done since the start of the year. And, so I've still got more to put early on 66 right now. And I go up to 80 on this list. So, it's a lot of fun. And it's something that I enjoy doing. So anybody that does have their one-page ideas, hit me. Don't hit me. I'm sensitive. I'm a sensitive person. Speaking of sensitive, tonight's musical listening is Nick Drake. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Nick Drake, give him a shot. He was an incredibly talented musician that ended his life before his time. So, okay. This is a couple more of those pages, and then I'm going to get to drawing. This is the one I mentioned before. The suggestion was comedian becomes the one thing that he hates the most. And so I used Jerry Seinfeld, and I had him surgically altered into a clown. Big feet, big nose, right? And has to wear the costume. Yeah. The world's most useless super team. One of them's a cat, the secret weapon. I did some Sam the Private Eyes. This is a story about a cat lady. Little bits and bobs. This is a werewolf dealing with male pattern baldness. Anyways, these are a lot of fun. Tonight's suggestion is, the suggestion I'm currently working on is 3 words drawn from a bag by Dee Dee Willingham. Tune in to Dee Dee Willingham's YouTube channel. She has a prompt bag, and anybody that's looking for an idea, let her know. She'll pull out 3 words out of this bag. The bag is full of hundreds of pieces of paper with a single word on them. And there you go. And so Dee Dee was on my stream a week or 2 ago, and we had a lot of fun. She did a portrait of Mr. Rogers. And while she did said portrait of Mr. Rogers, I did a one-page comic on Mr. Rogers, and but not necessarily straightforward a Mr. Rogers comic. I'm going to pull it up. It was, let me see if I can find it. There it is. Switching cameras again, just because this orientation is fun. All right, so this is the page. The 3 words suggested were lizard, bug, and cowboy. And so while we're doing it, people were suggesting that, hey, why don't you do the lizard as Mr. Rogers, or put the lizard in a sweater? And all these Mr. Rogers suggestions were flying at me because Didi was doing a really remarkable portrait of Fred Rogers. And so instead I thought, well, the color of the ladybug is, of course, red, and which is the color of, Fred Rogers' sweater. And so the notion I had in my head was the ladybug is Mr. Rogers. And so as he's talking, and it's a beautiful day, hey, you're new, and he's doing that Fred Rogers conversational, the lizard, of course, is just making guttural sounds because that's how lizards speak. And then the cowboy, his owner, is speaking to him in human to human. So it's a silly page, but again, it's exploring different ideas and avenues. And so you can take 3 words and try to put together a page on any subjects. So today I have got these 3 subjects, and that is kangaroo, pyramid, and airplane. That's it. So there's different ways you can associate that. Your first association might be, kangaroo on an airplane crashes into a pyramid or lands on a pyramid. Okay. Or what I'm doing is I'm taking a little sidestep here. I'm drawing an Australian superhero, which I'm not necessarily a superhero guy, but I thought I'd have a little bit of fun tonight. And so I'm drawing a character that I'm describing as the Australian rumor. I'm gonna spell it out for you. Australian rumor. Get it? Rumor? Kangaroo? Yeah? No? Yeah? No? So the Australian rumor is going to thwart an airplane kidnapping. There he is with his little hat. He's got his duster coat on. I'm going to have to draw that in on the character. I'm just working up the character's structure here. But I'm going to have him with his cowboy hat with kangaroo ears on it. If anybody can type this in for me, what do you call, remember in the style, maybe it was the 90s, everybody wear these pouches around their waist? What were those called? Because I'm trying to think of what that specifically is. So normally I just draw straight on like this, where I'm just following the line content, because after a while, when you draw in certain ways, you get to know how lines move about on a page. But because I'm not necessarily a dynamic action guy, a fanny pack. Look at all the fanny packs getting thrown at me. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Fanny packs. Fanny pack. Look at that. So he's going to have a fanny pack instead of a pouch because he's the Australian rumor. So I'd also considered putting a bandolero on him, the eye mask. So, so because I don't normally do action pages, I've started breaking it up a little bit into its form, but that's going to quickly end because I get really bored of drawing that way. I tend to draw really loose when I'm throwing together an image, and largely because I don't want to have to ink the stuff I just drew. I get really bored doing that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. A lot of people like to build up structure before they get into the finishes. The difference being, I have a shortage of attention, maybe. So I tend not to be one who wants to go over the specific lines. Saying that, I might get well carried away. So, feel like we're in an episode of Family Feud. How so? I'm missing a Family Feud reference. Does it feel like I'm a Richard Dawson? I can give anybody a kiss. That was a weird one, huh? Okay, so looking at the structure of the neckerchief around the neck, throwing that in, but making sure that I recognize that as it moves around the neck and follows the lines of gravity, it's going to drop this way. I've got his duster on his over his shoulder, and I've got this rope laid in here. And the reason I have the rope is because, racing to answer fanny pack. Thank you. I'm sorry. Let me put that up. Paul Pate said it feels like we're on an episode of Family Food because everybody's racing to answer fanny pack. The reason I have a rope over his shoulder is because someone suggested, well, he should have boxing gloves, an association of kangaroos in boxing. So he's part of his costume is to have boxing gloves about him. All right, so why don't we do this? I'm going to break this down. I've got a rubber, kneadable eraser in my hand, and let's just draw an ink. So one of the things that I want to consider as I'm working is that the specific items and details. It's a bad joke if you have to explain today. Not so much that my chat doesn't show up in the actual video. So if anybody watches this after the fact, they can't see the chat. So when I pop the chat comments up on the screen and talk through that, it's so that the people that are watching post tense know what we're talking about and just don't think I'm talking to the imaginary voice called Paul Pate in my head. So I'm sorry, Paul, if I'm making you feel like it was a bad joke. It wasn't. It was a lovely joke. Okay, so I've got the structure of the what did I call them? The Australian rumor. So I want to think about a couple things. Now, we can do it a couple different ways. If you look at, so I've got the fanny pack. The fanny pack would actually hang lower down here because of the weight. The duster would fly off of his shoulder and move down in this way, in this direction. And then we can have, of course, the other part of the duster bunching up here because his leg is kicking broad and over in this overarching manner. So the duster is going to actually pull around the sides and then fall down in behind him, like so. His hat, he's still going to have a downturn of his brow. So his hat is going to sit in this regard, right? And I think that maybe we expose the eyes a little bit more so that you can see he's wearing or it's not called a bandolier, it's called a domino mask. That's what I'm thinking of. So we can have him in his domino mask. But I like the idea of not truly revealing the entirety of his face because it makes him a little more mysterious, hence rumor in his name. Sometimes when I put forward the suggestion, just to draw back to something else, sometimes, see, what am I doing? I'm penciling again. Trust yourself. Sometimes when I put forward the suggestion of suggesting a one-page comic idea to people, there's reservation because, well, I don't want to say something stupid. There's no such thing. And, well, I can't think of anything. Sure you did. You just thought of the fact that you can't think of anything. So, thoughts come to mind. So don't be concerned about whatever ideas you're going to send out here. What is Paul saying? Paul is saying he's succumbing to the wiles of Mr. Sandman. Yes? He sent him a dream, I guess. All right. Good to see you, Paul. Have a great night. Have a great sleep. Okay, so back to see what I've done here. This is why I tend not to draw direct in marker. I tend to work on mixed media because it allows me opportunities to shape things differently. That's all right. We've got a magic eraser. So I'll put the other part of his ear in here, and we'll put that across there. I wasn't sure about having what his hair would be, so I haven't really given him a haircut because you can't see the majority of his head. But I want him to represent the tall and tanned guy of the Outback. So with the sort of, the leathery features, kind of like Paul, what's his name, from the Crocodile films in the 1980s. That very weathered. But he kind of looks like an oddball for sure. So I'm thinking about the structure of face and expression as I'm coming through with the lines now. This is it's something that I don't normally do coming up at night. So thanks everybody for coming out to visit. This is fun. So now when I've got the folds in the shirt, okay, and I've got the this is the bandolero, whatever you call it, bandana around his neck. So I want to take those things in consideration as I'm putting in these details around his neck. So we're going to make sure that we put that structure together in here. Make sure that we have that in the image. Paul Hogan. Uh-oh. Didi found me. Hi, Didi. Thank you. Paul Hogan from the Crocodile films. That's not a knife. Yeah, okay. Magic eraser. So I'm not throwing this entirely in yet because I want to get some of this collar up over top of the bandana, because it's important that we take into account how things function, the forms function in the same environment, the same space together. And then the other thing I need to consider is the duster cloak, the duster cloak. I gotta put that up because it's funny. Dingo ate my baby. Yeah, that's from a different film, but okay. So I'm going to put this line in here and then a sharp turnover. But this is the collar of the duster cloak itself. And so we're just going to put that in there. But this is the time that I'm normally finishing the one-page suggestions that I get through the day. And, you know, just thought I'd actually turn on the camera and say hi tonight while I'm doing it, because there's so many people that I don't get a chance to normally talk to in the evening, because it's later here than it is a lot of places that other people are. So, all right, so putting in these elements here, thinking about how the form moves and putting some seams in, and just allowing that. The nice thing about these Fudenosuke pens is by Tombow is that because it's a point pen, usually they're really rigid, but this one's got a nice soft tip, and so it has a nice control to it. Now, these water-based pens, which are supposed to be a similar thing, unfortunately do not. They're too soft. And then there's also Fudenosuke. This is a black bodied pen. Now, the blue bodied pens, they're actually hard. So again, there's the one extreme over another. It's just the most lovely balance I've come across yet. The WSB5 Black. If anybody wants the serial number, if you want to order one on your own, there it is on the screen now. Okay. So, all right, back to this. So I've got these parts of the character coming together now. And I'm considering these little bits and bobs as I'm going through the drawing stage. I don't put a lot of those details in, like I said before, because I can't stand tracing over my own lines. I just find it just isn't very appealing to me. So I don't. Just finding something to put on. That'll do. All right, so I usually like to listen to music at night. I have it on quietly. I can still hear you if you say anything to me. Well, you know, I know you're not saying anything, you're typing it, but you get the idea. Okay, so thinking about how the folds move, how the pattern moves into fabrics as it moves over top of the body, and trying to factor in all of those elements as I go. Now, chest pockets on the shirt that the character has here, so I want to get those in. And then thinking about how those would move with the shape of the clothing as it rolls around. There's going to be, well, let's get over to this side first, because the arm is going to move in behind the leg, but we'll get to this in just a moment. So as the collar moves up in this way, I'm going to follow this pre-established decision that I had here, so that keep that line nice and consistent. Now, you can't see the rope line that I've established in the previous image, but that's okay. It's okay, but take a deep breath. We'll be all right. I'm going to move the inside of the jacket along here, and I'm going to bunch up the fabric here. But first I'm going to put the other pocket across his chest. And then we're going to put a little weft in the fabric here, following this fold. And then move that along. So it's just sort of picking and choosing your lines as you go. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is just throw a little pattern in there, because this is where his arm has gone into his duster cloak, right? I haven't really structured the shoulder in here fully, because it's the jacket's moving right over top of it. That's okay. And we'll let that pattern of the coat move through. Now, I connect a line here because I want a separation from this formal line to that formal line. If you have it connecting through, it confuses the viewer's eye to make them think that it's one similar form as opposed to one form over top of another. All right, so as I move this down, I haven't decided where the bottom of this image is, but I know that in the finished image, I'm going to draw this in layers so that as he's kicking the terrorist in the head on the airplane, there are going to be airplane seats in front of them as well as behind them. But they're all going to be the ones in the foreground may well be a silhouette. So where I've placed the fanny pack, thank you everybody, I'm going to shift it. I'm going to adjust it here, because once again, I want to push the idea that there is gravity in effect in this image. So we're going to move it down this way as though it's spinning around the body as it goes. And then we're moving the line up like this because it's going to move under the folds of his pant leg. And the other factors in play is the remainder of lines for his shirt. And then we get into his one more fold. And then we get into his belt, which is going to tuck under here. And then we'll tuck that like so. But there's the belt buckle. So we can try to do a nice tiny thin line in there to give it some kind of ornate pattern to differentiate it from the environment, the rest of the lines in the same environment. So, all right. And then the leg comes up pretty much to what we've got established already. Now I would put a little billowing of the pant leg there. And then we're going to come across in that movement there. And then we're going to do a little bit of bunching at the knee as well and get on into that part of the body in a second. So we're going to put a little bit of value shift in here because we're going to start to put some tone, some shade into this duster. Move some of these lines around, keeping them interesting. But this is the gist of it. This is sort of what I do at night. Well, it's not sort of, it is what I do at night. I often ask the people that tune into the stream during the day, hey, let me know what you're working on. And I also suggest that if anybody has any notions to, if they see a one-page suggestion that has sparked some interest in themselves, that I fully advocate that they explore the idea, do a one-page comic themselves. Even if it's the same idea of something that I've done already, do their interpretation of how they would take that suggestion. I'm excited by that. I think that's empowering and a lot of fun. All right, so as far as it goes for the shadows here, or the, where I'm deciding on where the tones and fills are, I'm just doing it as I go. That's part of the fun of just staying loose with it, is that it's not all preset in front of me. It's a bit haphazard. It could lead to some fairly good disaster. But, there you go. I'm sorry, I'm missing stuff. Dee Dee says, I read at night, but saw your stream pop up. Well, I'm glad to have you here, Dee Dee. I was mentioning earlier about your prompt bag to anybody that might tune into this or watch it later on, that you have a prompt bag for people. And this page is coming together from 3 prompts that came out of that bag. Now, I'm not happy with having filled that in before I started to define the rest of the belt loop for the fanny pack. So we'll get that in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to put the wrist of his duster right here, and I'm going to bunch that up. And the reason that I'm bunching that up is it has to move itself up the sleeve a little bit so that I can fit in his I guess he doesn't have both of his boxing gloves on, so that's okay, but that's all right. We got his arm rolled up so he can throw a punch. That's all good stuff. You want to have the exciting and dramatic little lines as we go. And this is one opportunity to do so. Or we could give him a little more characterization by having him. Prompts for all, Dee Dee says. Yeah, indeedly do. I saw time, and now it sounds like it has some sort of connection to your name because I do it so much. I apologize if that's silly, Dee Dee. But I've said I deedly do for a long time. So, all right. So the other thing to consider is as this goes through the body here, all right, and we would get down to the wrist about there, and then the hand would bunch up into a fist about here, which can be awkward looking, but more genuine, right? So something to consider in the placement of the different parts of a body as it kicks around and moves around in the air, that there's going to be different parts of the body looping in and out from others. So all right, so we're not going to see much of this hand because of the little cutoff line that I've sort of decided that was there. That's all right. We'll put it in anyhow. Drawn upside down here. that in there. All right, so just carry these lines down because we got the hand drawn in now. We might as well keep it part of the composition. We've done all that work. That laborious drawing of a hand. So the whole thing about whatever it is that you're putting together for your story, play. Don't forget to play. It's important that as we put together the different pieces that we do over time, that we still remember to have some fun with it as we go. All right, so if this line follows up through here, we're also going to have this piece kicking out on the side, just like we have it here. You know what? That might be enough. That might be just enough so you get it intimates that the line moves around. Yeah, we'll leave it with that. I haven't done too much value in the hat at all. A couple little lines there. I used to hate drawing cowboy hats. It was one of those things where you draw a hat and I'd look at it and go, no, what, no, why? Oh, what am I missing? Boxing gloves. So, okay, let's just do this for fun. If I've got the one string spinning off to the side, because again, gravity, and the other piece of rope goes over the shoulder, let's move this glove in this direction. Right? So this is just me playing with the lines of the rope that these gloves are attached to. And so, you know, and at that point, it just becomes the structure of the gloves themselves. And just think about the object as forms, right? So like I've been talking about the last couple of daytime streams that I've been doing, think about in your head, without looking, if you can, try to keep that card catalog going up in your noggin, where you think about what does a boxing glove look like? And then try to think about breaking that down into shapes, right? And then we want to put those shapes together in the environment. And the would be, I'm going to be tricky and flip this glove over. Tricky. That's why my friends call me Whiskers. Yeah, you know. All right, so, and then I'm going to put that thumb. And so I want to put a line under here. So hopefully anybody that knows what a boxing glove looks like is going to register, you know, some of these little things that I've got going on here. Now I'm going to put a lip on the gloves themselves. And some more string, some more rope kicking around. Okay, so that's the breakdown of it. And so this is, we've got the fanny pack, we've got the kangaroo ear hat, we've got the boxing gloves. This is his comparatively boring superhero ensemble as opposed to, you know, the more stylish spandex set. But it's working for us, I think. It works for him. Bruce is happy. It's a secret name. Why? Because to my understanding of growing up watching Monty Python, everybody in Australia is named Bruce. This is a brace of pugilism. So we're going to follow line through. And then as I'm putting the ink together on the boxing glove, I'm adding this little collar to the bottom to kind of nuance that we can put through. Here we go. TD's cut box gloves up. So that we can just push the idea of the lip there, giving form, more dimensional form. Thanks, TD. All right, so putting a little bit of random errata lines there. And of course, colors the last step that would give more and more weight to what it is that we've drawn. All right. Now, same for the bottom one. Keeping the already established lines intact. I'm not sure how late I'm going to be able to stay up tonight because I have been up 5 this morning and it is 10:30 where I am now. So it's been a long day and a little nap though. So, all right. So there we got all our little lines in die here. And the only other thing I could think of is that maybe his head warrants hair, or in the assembly part of the page in Photoshop, like the examples I showed at the beginning, I may well reduce the size of his chapeau so that it sits a little forward in direction on his head. So we've got now decisions to make as we're moving his head across to the others. What I used for this, and this is what I'm talking about with reference. So I'm pulling the reference back up now. And this little image here, hold on a second, please. Have I lost it? There it is. Okay, so this image here is what I looked at for a moment and chose that as the example for how I'm going to draw this character so I could understand some of the proportions here. Willow. Hi, Willow. Hi, what pen do you prefer? Thank you. Well, this is a really nice pen. You can see FUDENOSUKE. And there is the number. There is the number of the pen for you to order it. 08501 456 4182. Soft tip. So this is a soft tip one. There is a blue one. Hold on one second. See if I can get one out of my tickle trunk. This is the little travel set that I carry around when I go to comic jams and so forth. It's like a little mini easel, but inside it has this carrier tray. So this is the other two choices for FUDENOSUKE. Close this up and put it over there again. This is the Mono Twin, which is like their Sharpie, and it has a tip at the other end as well. Okay, so that's another one. Now you can usually buy, this is an oil base here. You can, when you buy a set, you can get all three of these in it, right? And this here is the other one that comes in said set. This is the hard tip pen that I was talking about earlier. So it depends on what your preference is. There's also, when I showed this, water-based pens. This is also by Tombow. These are water-based brush pens, much, much softer. Again, what's your preference? So when I'm inking in this way, I will use the soft tip black for, and I will go back and clean up my blacks with the Mono Twin. Same company, same tone of ink, right? Aha! The smiley face, I like it. All right, so this is the one I tend to use for that. But my favorite pen for drawing is upsetting for some people, because my favorite pen for drawing is not him. It's him. It's the same pen, I realize that. It's just a different one. This is a Paper Mate 1.0M. this is my favorite pen for drawing. The beauty of control that a person can get. Let's say, okay, so let's draw this. All right. So when I'm drawing this, there you see it in pencil. So when I'm drawing it in the inks, you can see how I can get this thick and thin line with the brush pen that I'm using because it's a nice soft tip, right? So I can get all kinds of weight implied in the lines as I'm pressing harder or pulling off, right? But with Papermates, let's get this guy going. You got to heat up the tips sometimes when they're brand new. There we go. So when I'm drawing with a paper, I like to draw more in form than line, if that makes sense. So what I'm referring to by that is that the single line anywhere for me, it's me building up. I'm already implying weight and form and value because the Papermates give you so much variation in your grays through blacks. But I do this. Okay. Didi has said, oh, that's nice. I'm glad you feel the same way, Willow. Didi has said that Willow, Christopher will do a demo at the drop of a fanny pack. Drop of a hat. Yeah. I don't mind. It's problematic for folks if you're like, quit with the drawing doodling lessons, Jack, get back to the picture making. I will do so. But so the idea of the control that a ballpoint gives me is something that I've probably spent more time refining, in all honesty. So I'll play with that more, just because it lets me do more things, and I'm quite comfy with it. So, right? Because we can do these nice little soft lines. You can do directional lines. You can build up, through cross hatching. You can have development of weight and depth. Here's a fun thing to try with a Papermate if you've got one at home. Put a couple lines up and down like so, right? Then a single line with more pressure so it's darker. Okay. Now across that axis, do the same thing. Heavyweight line. Same thing. Heavyweight line. Come back this way. Right? And the more that you do that in an environment on a surface, you can make plaid. And nothing lets you into make plaid with a pen better than a Papermate. A weird thing to say. All right. Back to our previously broadcast program. Just going to put this down here now while I'm in front. The weirdness of the surface, for those I have a problem is I like modifying the surface that I work on. And so this is actually masking tape, this weird discoloration that you're seeing. That's masking tape. That's masking tape. So is this. There's a few reasons for this. I like some of the effects that you get of discoloration on the surface when you put like a watercolor wash over masking tape. I like the challenges and the textures that it puts onto a paper surface that I'm working on. I don't know why. I'm just different that way, but it's not something that I can say has a big drawn out artistic explanation for it, other than to say initially I used to have a real problem working on a white piece of paper. And so this was my way of breaking through that. If I modify the paper, it's no longer a pretty piece of perfect paper that I have to worry about making a mess out of. So I know that That's reverse the. Try to push your weights and your lines around a little bit, push them over top of each other. The other problem with doing ink on top of tape is that you've got to make sure you don't smudge it, because it takes a second longer for it to dry. Nice thing about these pens is that pressure I was talking about, how it really allows you control over your line. I highly recommend these. You can find them at most stores supplies too, I think. You can find them at Hobby Lobby, I would think, in the States, and Michael's here in Canada. I'm not sure if Michael's is in. It's got to be a Michael's in United States. And if you're in either of those places, find whatever chain art supply stores you have nearby and see what they've got. And if not, ask them to order some, because these are an awful lot of fun. I'll make decisions while I'm inking and change my lines that I had initially set up in my penciling stage, because that's the whole point. Dee Dee's asking me. Yep, yes, Willow, Dee Dee is hilarious. She knows it. Have I been to Jet Pens online? No. And I'm not good at shopping online. I look like a caveman, completely out of his element when I'm trying to do tragic. But like my Posca pens that were referred to me by somebody, I found these at a store. Hey, while I'm at it, why don't I talk about the store? This isn't a paid promotion or anything like that at all, but I went to this place in St. Thomas, Ontario, and if you live anywhere near there, go to it. It's called the Craft Have. I love the name of that place. And they were as well outfitted as a big box store for diversity of materials. I found my linoleum lino cutting nibs there. Really quite pleased. In London, there's another shop called Bijon's that it's pretty good. I prefer to shop with Bijon than I would with the chain stores, but sometimes you got to what you got to. Every time I go to Bijon's, he's got different staff because he tries to help a lot of students. So there's that rope I talked about, giving that a little bit of texture. Here. And I'm going to play with these lines a little bit, just to give it a little bit something more. Yeah, I'll have to write it down, give it a shot. Find something to write things on. Jet Pens. See, the problem with me finding a place like Jet Pens online, Dee Dee, is that now I want to go shopping. That got me a lot of stuff to use. But it doesn't hurt to find more things, right? So again, the only differentiation on these lines as I'm applying to the previously penciled lines is the variations in that line that I can put into place with the with the pressure on the brush. All right. Okay. Is all right. A couple little details we forgot about. Hey, people have palms, and those palms have patterns in them. All right. So this is the panel. The way I structured this page out, I might as well show you this. Move this so I don't smudge it. So if this is the shape of the page, the way that I'm putting this down is first panel is the airplane. That gives us the larger context to the story. The second panel, which is the same size as the first, smaller, is here comes Corbin. Is he introducing a Bruce, the Australian rumor? I'm just clearly tired that I can't remember things like that. No, I'm not. I'm always like this. So if I've got airplane, vroom vroom, and Bruce, and then the next panel, the third panel, which is this one here that juts in behind the second one, cuts down to this shape, is Bruce again. And it's Bruce doing this, right? And so the next part of this panel that I have to draw is a person who's getting kicked. And the second choice that I made in this is, in order to keep the heightened energy that goes up from movement to movement, step into the time period, because each of these panels is a moment in time. Step into the time period of the second panel by having Bruce's head push into right about here on his arm. Okay? Takes us right into this action. Do it. Right? There's his hand. All right. And then the other part of that is as Bruce is kicking, old Mr. Johnson here, he's got Mr. Johnson flying outside that panel. And because it pushes just outside the edge of that frame of reference for this panel here, again, it gets a larger sense of energy because it's breaking through the boundaries. It's breaking through that wall. It's in panel shape. And in order to keep a balance on the page, this, with a slight overlap, is where I'm going to put the title for this page. But our balloon placements are going to be here in order to direct our viewer's eye around. And then our viewer's eye is directed back down to this environment because of the movement of this guy's body as he gets kicked out of the panel. So that takes the direction of the eye moving in this pattern to then push in that pattern. And it brings us back down to the bottom three panels for the story. There's a bit of thinking in this stuff. It's one of those conscious unconscious things that gather a page like that, and I try to have fun. I try to have fun with it, right? Not get too caught up in worrying about the proposal, is the environment perfect, is the continuity and everything great. Those things become secondary to the storytelling, and that's what our job is here when you're doing illustration work like this. You're telling a story. That's your focus. All right, a little bit of black texture in there for the duster cloak. We continue on down below. I'm just going to get a couple of little lines in here on the airplane, trying not smudge the panel beside me that I just put ink on and went to work directly beside it like a silly person. So just turn the whole world around, man. I don't know if I'm happy with this. I might just go back and change my plane again. Yeah, I don't like the bottom of that at all. because I am a fussy duck. I'll put the wings below. I'll clean that up in a second. The engine's down below the wings. I'm so sorry. Get that one in there. That's our windows. Have I rebooted at all today? I'm cutting in and out. I'm sorry if I'm doing that. I'm not going to be. Actually, 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes, I think, and then I'll click out. But yeah, I did reboot earlier. But thank you, Didi. That's a good piece of advice for when that does happen for folks. So this is the tail wing there. There's our airplane. Here's our aeroplane. Yeah, so I'll just do a rough little doodly-doo of where I'm going to put the guy getting kicked. Yeah, the guy gets kicked in the head. So again, I'm referring, this is my big reference, is these tiny little images here. And you see this where the recoil that's happening, is that in frame? It's not very big, but this little bit here, okay, of the recoil of his body as he's being propelled backwards from the force of the kick. Oh, thank you, Didi. That's really nice of you. There. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is what I want to capture here. Now, he's being kicked in the center of the chest, so his recoil pushes back. Whoops. I knock everything over. His arms are flailing forward. His legs are kicking forward. The middle of his body is pushing back, though. Head's turned down because of the force of the action. Is a bad guy going to be jackalope is the question. I hadn't thought about that. What is a jackalope? Is that a real thing? I better look up jackalopes. Sure. Yes, he is. So I'm flipping through here really quick, just seeing if there's an image that sort of captures what I'm talking about. And even though this guy is propelled forward because he's actually kicking at the lower part of the body of the next guy, that actually is, that's what I'm going to use. And while I'm not specifically using it in the exact way, what it is informing me of, though, is of the upper body moving back, and the mid body kicking forward, right? Arm raised up as he's being pushed and propelled through the space. This is my cheaty way of roughing in the hand without actually giving it any definition at all. Here's our elbow, right? So as we're moving into the contours of the muscles, you don't have to be too elaborate. You're going to do all that in the inking process, right? Yes, we are, Chris. Yeah. So, and we're not going to define all his muscles because he's wearing clothes. So, jackalope clothes. That's actually a fun joke. Why is he fighting the jackalope on the airplane? Because both he and his nemesis decide to go for a vacation at the same time. So that's kind of fun. I like that. Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Didi. All right, so there he is. Now, if the border of the panel follows down this way, see how he's pushing out in there, and it adds a little bit more dynamism. I'm going to change which leg's behind and which leg's behind. I'm trying to keep their sizes relative to one another. Foreshortening this arm, pushing that up, and then kick his knee back. So there's the gist of where he's going down in the space. Yeah, I pull up reference and I don't even look at it. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so I'll bunch up the muscle that's underneath the joint of the knee and the calf there. And if his legs are going to be exposed, maybe he's wearing shorts in his costume. Diversity is king. Yeah, so we'll have the second leg up just as high. We'll see. I'll figure this out a little bit. Play around with the idea of it. So I think I want to have a little more elastic. But that's the gist of it anyhow. And again, don't rely too heavily on your reference. I turned the thing off. Okay. So that's the gist of things. This hasn't been a very long stream, and but I try to go for about an hour and a half mark. I just want to check in tonight, and like Dee Dee says, if it's cutting in and out, I want it to be consistent. I'm going to look into the jackalope for the villain. I think that's a lot of fun suggestion. Anybody that's watching, I'm going to say the same thing as I usually say. If you have an idea for a one-page comic, if you have just an idea for a scene, for a movie, not from a movie. Thank you, Dee Dee. That's very nice of you. If you have an idea, if you've got a suggestion of anything, and thanks, Gary. That's very nice of you as well. Let me know. Let me know. Just put it in the comments below the video, or put it on any of the social media. And this is something we do every day at 2:00. It's I'm not going to be able to stay up much longer tonight because it's been a long day for me, but yeah, I just want to stop in because I had some time on my hands to that I it's normally spent for time for Laurie and I watching TV, but she retired early this evening, so I thought I'd spend a little time doing this. But yeah, this is great. What do we got? Gary has an idea. It's a man with an affliction where he always sounds like he's being sarcastic, but he's absolutely genuine. I love it. I'm writing it down. This is the worst. You ever, do you remember the Whiners? Does anybody remember the Whiners on SNL in the 70s? Man, just a man with an affliction. I like this, an affliction. I think I would like for him to express it as an affliction, right? He always sounds like he's being sarcastic. I got to put this in a book before I lose it, because you know how I am with Post-its. I usually rip them up and put them in drawings. Sarcastic, but it is absolutely genuine. You know what the fun part of a suggestion like that is, and I'm just going to play with the idea here for a second. That's a fantastic one, Gary. Thank you very much for that. Now, the thing that's fantastic about something like this is that when somebody gives you a suggestion like this one, this is the worst. I love it. Okay, so it's a man with an affliction. He's always being sarcastic, right? So this is a principal thing that I like to put into the pages when I'm working on them, is that I like to take a turn at the beginning. I like to always take a left turn, like with the bug lizard cowboy page. It's from the point of view of a bug who's very excited to make some new friends. Of course, the cowboy is prodding his lizard on to eat the ladybug, is the actuality of that page. But I don't lay that out fully. It's sort of implied that here's this lizard that the cowboy is saying, "You gonna eat this thing or what, buddy? Let's get a move on," But we don't understand any of that because the lizard just makes noises and the cowboy talks in humidity. But from the perspective of the ladybug, this is a lovely page with nice bright colors, but it's kind of, so I like a turn in the thing. So when I get a suggestion like a man with an affliction where he always sounds like he's being sarcastic, my first thing is to have him as an authority because an authoritarian figure that is always sarcastic, as far as everyone else can tell, would be the most awful thing ever, because here he is being constantly what looks like he's being snide. So that's usually where my brain starts at when I'm trying to think of what to do with a page. But we'll get at this guy tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. It was really, really swell. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the stream here. And we'll be working on the next one-page suggestion. And I usually start, yeah, there you go, Gary. No one would take him seriously. No one would. But that's the best part. It's not a mirage, frankly. I'm here. So, yeah. So I'll be on tomorrow, and I will work on this page, and I will post the finished page from today's suggestion on my social media, and at the beginning, the title card for tomorrow's stream. Okay, that's about it for me. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Super nice, super cool he is to join in. Unannounced, surprise nighttime post. But hey, I'm open to streaming with other folks at different times, and if anybody wants to get together and talk process and talk behind, thoughts and thinking behind the making and show and tell time, whatever it is, about this making of the stories. So yeah, let me know. I haven't done much going to other people's things, but yeah, I'm keen for that too. And the intro, the offer is open for anybody that wants to come and join in. Okay, that's it for me for now. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out tonight. I hope you keep creating and working on the things that you're working on, and I'm really excited to see them. So please feel free to share them with me. My media details are listed in the videos as they come up, so you can find my email and so on and so forth. And if you're doing one pages yourself, and you send me one, hey, I'd like to show other people that on my stream as well, and kind of get them to come over and take a look at some of the other crazy hijinks that you're up to on your own stream. So with that said, I'm off for the night. Thanks very much. Have a good night. Bye for now. The other one.